Hi, Richard. How you doing?
Yeah.
I heard that right after your dinner time, and in UK, it's right after breakfast for me. So we both were well fed right now.
Good.
When I started doing this research for these questions, and I'm about to interview a great actor like yourself, I always go through this process, and this process of looking at Loki was interesting because I thought the idea of variance is like a very interesting concept, and I wonder, like, have you ever thought of different versions of yourself? I mean, as a black man, I always think of like how my life would be if I was white, but I never thought of like how it would be as a woman, like the female or alligator. But have you ever thought of different versions of Richard E. Grant?
Um, I don't really have a clue who I am because I've spent my life trying to be other people. So I am probably the least equipped person to answer that. But I suppose because I spent my whole career trying to imagine myself in the skin of somebody else, um, I've never thought about. I don't know how to answer that. I have no idea.
But it's the same for me. Like, I mean, besides just that social concept of just, white and black and how the lifestyle would be, I never really thought of variance. But I thought this low key thing with the variant was like very interesting. So, I mean, I know you're from Swaziland. Is that how it's pronounced?
It's now called Eswatini. The king changed the name of the country 6 months ago.
How did you develop the dream to be a big actor from there? Like, was that something that was easily attainable? Not, I mean, I know it's never easily attainable for anybody worldwide, but was there resources, or was there theater, was there stuff like that you could hone your skills to become this actor when you was growing up? Or how did that, like, how did that idea birth in your mind?
They had there was one amateur theatre club there. There was no TV, there was only radio, and there was one cinema where you could go and see a movie Monday to Wednesday, and then another one Thursday to Saturday. Pre-video, pre-CD. That's how old I am. And when I was at school, I did I did school plays, and I had puppets and stuff that I made. And my parents said, and everybody at school said, you can never become a professional actor. It's impossible. So they said, you look too weird. And then I saw Donald Sutherland in Kelly's Heroes in 1969 when I was 12 years old. And he had a long face. He came from the middle of a tiny town in Canada, I read in a fan magazine. I thought, well, if Donald Sutherland can become an actor, maybe I can become an actor. And people went, no, you haven't a chance. And you're in what was then called Swaziland. There's no precedent. There's nobody in show business. There's no there's nothing you can do here. But I think, like anything, I don't know about your career, but if you have a fixed idea in your head, you think, well, I'm going to try because people have told me, no, you can't for your whole life. What have I got to lose? So that's basically how I've managed to con my way into having a career. That's what it seems like to me.
Well, I don't think it's a con. I think it's a very deserved career.
Oh.
I wonder, has Marvel discovered a new form of storytelling? I know there's always been limited series, there's been movies, but when you have these 8-hour extended movies like the Loki or Falcon and the Winter Soldier and stuff, is this like a new format in storytelling for the world? I mean, is this something that we've never seen before in a sense?
I think it's like the Loki variant. It's, Charles Dickens in all his novels came out in episodes. So, and ended up having, some of the books, Oliver Twist is very short, but a book like Our Mutual Friend is, it's like a doorstop. It's so thick. And, when you read, as a modern reader now, you look at that and you think, well, I need 2 years to read that book. But because they used to get it in weekly or 2 weekly installments, this thing of being told a story and having to wait for what's happening next seems to have been around, for a long time. So I think that what you're describing is just a variation of our innate human need to be told stories and to be diverted by stories. So I think it's just a variation.
Why are there so many?
Yeah.
Because Loki survived. That's just what we do. All of us were arrested by the TVA and pruned, just like you. And just like you're doing right now, we all stood around making bad plans that went nowhere. Everything proceeded correctly my entire life until Thanos attacked our ship.
You didn't try to stab him.
Certainly not. The blades are worthless in the face of a Loki sorcery. I cast a projection of myself, so real, even the mad Titan believed it. God of Outcasts.
What do you think the appeal is? I mean, because I've heard people. I mean, it's been a lot of great series from Marvel so far in the universe on Disney Plus. But what do you think the unique appeal to Loki is? I mean, like, people seem to really gravitate towards this story in a different way than they did all the other stories. And I mean, they've been great stories all around, but something about Loki is different. Like, what do you think it is that's the element that people bite onto?
Well, I think, first of all, he's the god of mischief, and he's able to do things that, in your normal life, you would love to be able to do. It's like you imagining yourself in a different ethnicity, or because the gender of Loki is fluid as well, it means that anybody who's felt disenfranchised, an outsider, not seen, not recognized, not included, especially at this moment in time that we're in at the moment, 2021, where people have felt so disenfranchised, and the pandemic has isolated people so much. So it really chimed with me when classic Loki has this line: instead of talking about himself as the god of mischief, he talks himself as the god of outcasts. And I thought, I get that. I get that thing that's you are other, or you are outside of what the norm is. And I think that feeling that there's somebody that you can, who's rooting for you, is on your side, is, I don't know, if it doesn't sound too fanciful, that to me seems to be the key that draws people to him. I don't know whether that's true. He's also lonely, and I've certainly suffered loneliness in my life, and I don't know whether you have, but just that feeling when you walk into a room, or you walk into a group of people and you think, these are not my people, this is not my group, this is not my comfort zone, or whatever. And I think that's what that sort of deals with in some way. What do you think?
I mean, I think that's a great explanation. I think people do identify with him as the outcast, and now with people, being able to choose their identity more freely, I think Loki is a great mascot for that whole idea. And
yeah.
So yeah. So my
Don't
last
define me by my sexuality. Don't define me by my ethnicity, by my social grouping, whatever. Just take me for who I am.
Yeah, I think the alligator just like put it over the cake. It's like, look, Don't complain about anything. He could be the alligator. So, but my last question to you is, like, with the success of Black Widow this weekend worldwide, and you go back to Fast 9, like how do you feel about like it feeling like we're getting back to the movies, we're getting back to the big screen, we're getting back to the audiences? Is that something that at the beginning of this pandemic you thought was going to happen? Or, I mean, did you always believe we'll be back, or were you like in doubt like most of us?
I always believed it would come back because, if you go back when they said in 1929, when sound came to the movies, it would end. It ended some people's careers because when they talked in the movies, they didn't sound like what they looked like. Then they said TV was going to end movies. It didn't. They said video was going to end, CDs, all of this stuff was going to end. What is the common denominator is that our desire to have stories told and to have our world reflected back at us from a screen or through, oral or visual or reading, that is a constant since people were in caves and, drew things on the walls to represent themselves. So I think that I'm very optimistic. I think the more streaming possibilities we have, the more platforms, the more big screens, multiplexes, in whichever way you get it, I think that's good news. I don't see it as a negative at all.
Okay.
But I'm an optimist by nature.
I see. That's great. It's a great perspective to have. Well, I know you're classic Loki, but you're just classic Richard E Grant to me, and I appreciate the time and
Thank you.
and take care and be safe out there and across the pond, and can't wait to see you guys in person once again pretty soon.
Thank you. Where do you get your chairs? Because I've got one of them.
I got them at some shop in Long Beach, California. Actually, they had like a, yeah. Thank you.
Good.
Take care.